Record, I'm Chris Lloyd, I live in Lecanto. What I say is my opinion. Right or wrong, it's my opinion. Once again, Commissioner Adams continues to make news on the front page of the Chronicle, whilst also attracting negative comment on the opinion page. The Chronicle opined on Sunday, and I'm of the same opinion, that, and I quote, "It's time for the public to tell Scott Adams that we've had enough." When first elected, Scott was a breath of fresh air, but this honeymoon was very short-lived. His behaviour towards Commissioner Joe Meek and to Commissioner Rebecca Bayes was outrageous. 2 years later, and 2 new commissioners, Scott has turned against those upon those he supported at election time because Commissioners Kitchen and Carnahan refused to align themselves with every call for an audit, an investigation by the FDLE or the FBI. I'm surprised there have been no suggestions of waterboarding staff. Scott Adams' current call for Randy Oliver and Denise Lynn to resign is ludicrous. I'm glad Scott finds this so amusing. And it will receive no popular support from any quarter. Hopefully, we will see an immediate 4-1 positive vote from this board during the course of today's meeting, please. I'm pleased to see today's front page where Attorney Miss Lynn calls upon Mr. Adams requests for attorney-client privileged information. Mr. Adams is a principal in a business which is in active litigation with the county which he purports to represent. I have no problems with Mr. Adams running a very successful business which competes with the county providers. I have no problem with Mr. Adams litigating against the county. I do have a huge problem with Mr. Adams when and concurrently he holds a seat on the Board of County Commissioners. While serving as a commissioner, the elected official has one duty and one duty alone. That duty is to represent the taxpayers of Citrus County. Back in 2000, I pulled this extract from the Ethics Commission, concerned a somewhat similar case. By having or holding employment or a contractual relationship with a company or companies which created a continuing or frequently recurring conflict between his private interests and the performance of his public duties, which impeded the full and faithful discharge of his public duties. Pause. And found considerable probable cause to suggest that the respondent violated Florida statutes regarding measures concerning several companies with business before the county commission.
And your time has expired, Mr. Lloyd.
That's why the thing's flashing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And I challenge anyone, Mr. Chris, I challenge you to file an ethics complaint, and I challenge you to call the FBI because you are an outright liar about what you're saying.
Okay, we're attacking the public now. Let's reel it in. Keep it non-personal.
Now, when you have a lying newspaper, that's all they can do.
Can we just move on with the
No, sir. I'm moving forward, but let me get there.
Okay, keep the personal comments and the professional attacks to a minimum.
Because you
please,
allowed
I'm telling you the way we're going to run the meeting, and you're going to follow the rules of protocol.
Chairman, you let a man bring the newspaper up and ridicule me, so I'm explaining, so please let me explain. You're going to let a man attack me about the newspaper ads in Sunday's article, and you're not going to let me respond. That's BS.
Commissioner, you're an elected county commissioner. You rise to a higher level and a higher standard, and you will conduct yourself according to proper decorum. And I'm not going to argue with you.
Mr. Kitchen.
I'm going to tell you one time. That's it.
Point of order. Point of order.
Say your point.
Point. Okay. So the roads, the Chronicle can say what they want.
What is your point of order?
Let me finish. The roads, Chronicle can say what they want, but that's how I handled my situation with the roads. Basically no different, except it was spun a different way because I don't go along with everything. I'm just not a rubber stamp guy, because I do represent every one of y'all out there, and I protect you each and every day. And I go home and sleep good at night. Two, I would like to address something that Mr. Lloyd brought up and address that. 2 meetings ago, he said the Economic Development Council had nothing to do with withdrawing from the county due to any commissioners. That was absolute, outright untruth. December 2nd, 2014, it was on my agenda, L13, discussing in action the termination of funding for the Economic Development Council. Right here. The man is telling untruths. But that's all right. It's politics, ladies and gentlemen, and it is election time, and these folks don't want me elected because I protect you. 3, I want to address the landfill.
That wasn't brought up during the...
Yes, he did. He addressed the landfill and me being a working commissioner and violating statute. So let me talk, please. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been in the landfill business a long time. One thing I've learned how to identify is trash in government and trash in media. And we have an audit today. If you've seen this audit, we're missing 4 years worth of records, ladies and gentlemen. If it wasn't for me, this wasn't going to be done. This board, October last year, was going to pass an audit with 4 years worth of records not brought in. But let me read to you how and why that part of the audit wasn't done. Monica, I spoke to Jeff after calling this morning. Let him know that there was other issues at the landfill that would take precedence over the commercial solid waste billing at this time. I know it wasn't originally directed in your scope, and we brought it up at the entrance conference. The issues have been identified and are getting resolved. Like you mentioned, if there is still concern, this could potentially be added to the audit list in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, this was 4 years. Here are the updates and concerns.
Commissioner Adams, that item is on the agenda.
Okay.
We will discuss it later on. There's no reason to discuss it twice.
You let Mr. Chris attack me, and you and him are very close, so I'm sure
come on.
there
Let's
was something
just make
there.
your point and let's move on. It's coming up on the
quit
agenda.
interrupting me. Please, please, Mr. Kitchen. You've done this enough. Mr. Chris, I challenge you. I've worked hard. I've got the only knowledge up here in understanding landfills and how corrupt and how much collusion that's took place from citrus recycling to the deals that was cut with prior board members, a prior administrator that has been brought forward. Just so you know, my business has been in here 20 years in business, folks. Isn't it funny that you never heard a word? And isn't it funny, ladies and gentlemen, my company isn't in this audit. Guess whose names are in this audit? Another commissioner had a second mortgage on the company. It was the biggest violator in here. My company isn't even named in here because we keep good records. And we're truthful. And we're honest. So let's get that straight, Mr. Lloyd, and let's quit the lies. My company was so accurate and good it wasn't even identified. But the gentleman who's a commissioner here with a second mortgage that was having problems, their company was missing 4 years worth of records, and the company that bought them out was missing records. So there's issues here, and it ain't with me. And I've talked to Ms. Lynn about it.
And they will be discussed later in the meeting. There's an agenda item for the landfill audit. This will all be discussed later in the meeting.
Mr. Chris, well, I want to address Mr. Chris since you let him just go after me with a number of untruths. Mr. Chris, you know how much and why my company, there was no issue with the city of Inverness and my company taking garbage. Should have been without the school board. Maybe one day that'll come out and the truth will come out about the FDS sale and what would have happened if our company would have been taking garbage out because FDS wouldn't have sold and the second mortgage wouldn't have been paid. Because we could take it for 30% less because we were more competitive. That's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. So don't lie about me. don't tell untruths, and I challenge you to turn in any ethics, any FDLE, and any FBI complaint, and if not, quit your lives. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I will protect you every day I'm here.
Okay, Commissioner Adams has completed his comments. I'm going to make mine. We're going to move on. First of all, I apologize. I apologize to the members of the public that took advantage of their constitutional rights to come and make an expression of their feelings and being attacked afterwards. So on behalf of myself, I apologize for that. When commissioners respond to remarks from the public, I believe they should do it in a generic way, and they should never attack people personally for their points of view. So on behalf of myself, I apologize for that. I hope that won't keep anybody from in the future coming. Please sit down or I'll have you removed, sir. Sit down. Sit down. You will conduct yourself according to proper decorum. As everybody else. I'm going to give. Ladies and gentlemen, if your purpose today is to disrupt the meeting, we're not going to let that happen. So if you want to listen to the meeting, we will conduct it, and we invite you to stay here, and we're glad you're here. But there's people here that want to hear the business of the board. We're an hour and 10 minutes, 5 minutes in the meeting. We haven't even gotten to the business of the board yet. So we've already heard about how our meetings run long and we don't take breaks. Thank you. Please. Thank you for attending. Thank you for attending. We appreciate it. Okay. Deputy, would you escort that gentleman out, please? Okay. No, you don't. You don't use profanity in here. And okay. So now back to it. If we can finish the elaborate stuff that's happened here, let's go back to the points.